Welcome to Kauffman Stadium, the K. As for the 30th Stadium Review episode on the channel, we're checking out this beautiful ballpark in Kansas City, Missouri, home of the Kansas City Royals. Kauffman Stadium is located about 7 miles east by car of downtown Kansas City, Missouri, and is out by Independence, Missouri. The stadium is part of the Truman Sports Complex, named after 33rd President of the United States, Harry S. Truman, who's a Missouri native. Arrowhead Stadium, which is the home of the Kansas City Chiefs, opened up in 1972, while Kauffman Stadium opened up in 1973, named Royal Stadium, making it the 6th oldest stadium in the MLB, and was later named to Kauffman Stadium in 1993 in honor of Ewing Kauffman, who was the founder and the first owner of the Kansas City Royals, which makes it one of only 8 stadiums in Major League Baseball that doesn't have a corporate sponsored name. What's really interesting about this complex is that the 70s was a time of Coliseum-style stadiums, where cities would build these big concrete bowl stadiums that would host both their NFL and MLB teams. 2 other notable Midwest cities that did this was St. Louis, with Busch Stadium opening up in 1966, and Cincinnati, with Riverfront Stadium opened up in 1970. However, those stadiums didn't last very long, as in the 90s and early 2000s, those multi-sport Coliseum stadiums were really phased out and replaced with more retro-style baseball stadiums and football-specific stadiums. However, Kauffman Stadium has more of a modern, sleek aesthetic to it, instead of going for the more retro vibe. And the stadium has done well to stand the test of time and is often compared to Dodger Stadium, which was built in 1962, as a baseball-specific stadium from this era that went with a more modern design. Like any older stadium, it's gone through multiple renovations, the largest of which taking place from 2007 to 2009, which added a lot more fan amenities, especially in the outfield areas, and it connected the concourse of the stadium from foul pole to foul pole, making a full 360-degree concourse. And all those renovations have brought the current capacity of the stadium to 37,903 spectators. I was actually in town for a wedding and got to the area pretty early, so I wanted to check out another local historic ballpark. And yes, there will be a video coming on this soon, not a stadium review, but walking around it and looking at these different sites. So stay tuned for that. But then I headed over to the complex. It's really interesting because the Truman Sports Complex is just 2 stadiums on a slab of giant parking lot. And I was able to go in the back way, kind of in the west entrance, as most of the game day traffic is navigated towards the east entrance. But it was super awesome and I was able to take this time to walk around the entire outside of the stadium without anyone else around. Woo! And I started off in the gift shop, which was pretty cool and had an awesome Royals crown in the middle. And so I grabbed my souvenir of a baseball early, so then I wouldn't have to carry it around all night of the game. There was actually a lot of really cool things and amenities to see outside the stadium, and I really appreciated the grass and the trees that they put on the outside. Since the stadium's just in the middle of a parking lot, it kinda can feel like a concrete jungle, but this grass and trees really kinda break up that atmosphere and makes you feel like you're actually going to a ball game and something a little more exciting. I walked all the way around the backside and there actually wasn't any sidewalk there, so I just trudged through the grass and actually went over the tunnel that the players will enter in when they drive to the stadium. But there was a great view there of the back of the scoreboard with the iconic Royals crown on it.
Right now you're seeing the Spencer method of exploration at work. You just walk around and see what there is to see. I'm walking through the grass here to get to the other side of the stadium, and some stadium workers like, "What are you looking for?" I'm like, "I'm just walking to the other side." He's like, "Okay, cool." So yeah, just wander around and be polite about it, and it's the way to do it.
Let's flash forward a few hours, and it is just about game time. Fans here in Kansas City absolutely love the tailgate. It's good because they have the perfect environment to do it with all these parking lots right by the stadium. I noticed that cornhole is a very popular thing here, or maybe they call it something else in Missouri. I know it's bags in Wisconsin a lot of the times. But yeah, it's one big party atmosphere outside the gates, which is really fun. But let's head on in and check out the concourse now. So we entered the stadium through the outfield gates and we're immediately on the outfield concourse, which had a lot of sweet amenities on it.
Oh yeah, look at all those drink options.
Definitely had a nice sleek modern design, with a large open walkway between the seats and a big overhang that had some restaurants, bars, and restrooms inside. And the concourse has a lot of statues commemorating several Royals past, and gives you a pretty good view down to the stadium itself, as you can stand on the concourse and watch the whole ball game. And this whole outfield section, especially by left field, just felt like one big party, as you had this big Miller Lite Plaza, and I was a big fan of the beer cans all making the Kansas City Royals logo. They had lots of bistro lights lighting the whole back area, and it kind of felt like a carnival, with a baseball-themed putt-putt course, complete with the holes being on home plates, a kid's running test, a merry-go-round, batting cages, pitching accuracy tests, and a mini stadium where some kids were playing wiffle ball. And this part of the stadium was constructed during a lot of the more recent renovations to bring a lot of fan energy and entertainment into the area. It's because nowadays when people go to baseball games, they don't want to just sit in their seat and stay there the whole time. They want to maybe spend a few innings walking around, have their kids play in this area, and then watch some of the game. Out by the left field foul pole on the concourse there in the corner, they have the Royals Hall of Fame, and the sign looks really sweet at night, all lit up. We popped in and looked around since it was free, and of course I was immediately gravitated toward the giant model stadium they had. Obviously, by my channel theme, I've always been interested in stadiums, and when I was younger, I used to actually make model stadiums out of paper, just like this one. But obviously not nearly as good. But the whole Hall of Fame had a lot of different artifacts from the Royals Museum. Even though I'm not a Royals fan really, it was still really cool just to check it out and see all the different historical elements, including the 2 World Series trophies. We headed under the main concourse section, wrapping foul pole to foul pole, as it has a very dark concrete design and big concrete beams lining the way. And this is one of the parts of the ballpark that definitely has that more 70s concrete bowl aesthetic design to it, as it definitely feels like you're inside an older stadium, but they do have quite a few modern touches that makes it feel a little better. I really enjoyed how in the concourse area behind home plate, they had this big plaque to commemorate everyone that worked on the project to build the stadium, and I really love how they call it a modern classic, as that phrase there just perfectly sums up this style of architecture for the ballpark. We made it through the rest of the concourse and out to right field, where once again it continues with that big open design with different patios and restaurant themes. Heading up to where we were seated, we passed the second tier of seating concourse, where all the private clubs and suites are located, and that concourse definitely looked the fanciest. But then we made it all the way up to the top concourse, where our seats were seated in the upper section. It also definitely has an older feel to it with the giant concrete beams. However, it makes you feel like you're in an actual stadium though. On a lot of newer, fancier concourses, it doesn't really have that stadium vibe. So I actually really did appreciate this and really liked the openness of the concourse, as you had a great view out to Arrowhead Stadium. And also while you're walking around the concourse, you notice that that kind of flashy carnival theme is definitely continued through the concourse in all the different food vendors, as each vendor really had its own unique theme to it that made it real special. And being Kansas City, a big place for barbecue, we had to try some barbecue. So my girlfriend and I both got pulled pork sandwiches and some fries with it, and that was some good barbecue, very good choice. They also had a lot of different fancier food options too, with all this frozen cheesecake, and I think these are pieces of bacon being carried around on sticks? I can't really remember what it was and can't tell from the video, but it was interesting enough to film. And then we ended up getting these alcoholic blue slushies, and man, those were fantastic. Really loved them. Had to go for the royal blue, of course. So the seating bowl is laid out in 3 tiers, with most of the stands wrapping foul pole to foul pole. And the topmost third upper deck has a big swooping design, as the middle behind home plate has the most amount of seats, as the section's really tall there, and then it gradually gets smaller towards the foul poles. And I think it's this big swooping design that really gives us more of a modern appeal and aesthetic to it. The lowest level is pretty basic. However, there is a walkway in the middle of it, and in that walkway there's another entrance to the dugout concourse, which is a lower down concourse. There's also several private areas and clubs right behind home plate, and instead of more traditional seats, it's a lot more table seating there in the stands themselves. In the second middle tier is where you find all your different private suites and amenities, as well as the press box right behind home plate. And the upper section where we were had super steep seats, and I did some running all the way up to the top, and you can definitely see the wear and tear along these seats and the concrete itself. And a lot of those seats are actually kind of under a roof, as that roof swoops out over the stadium and has large poles around the edges that carry the light bar around for the stadium floodlights. What's interesting though is that they do have larger entrances to the concourses, and these are over the first and third base respective dugout concourses, as they also have that same shaped opening. And the sections themselves don't just have the one set of stairs going from the middle of the opening both up and down. The stairs go in a straight line all the way up from the opening, but going down from the openings, they go out in two different lines, which definitely creates a little bit of a different and unique aesthetic. We were sat kind of along the first baseline higher up, and from there you actually get a really great view out to the highway just beyond the stadium. However, what really gives this ballpark its charm is the outfield. So the first thing you'll notice is the giant scoreboard that's shaped like the Royals logo and a crown, and followed by that are the giant light bars. So a lot of times stadiums will have toothbrush lights or more classic single pole light structures. However, this light structure has multiple poles and has one big bar attaching all the lights, which I think really closes off the stadium in the outfield. I also really like how the bullpens are buried in the corners in front of all the seats in the outfield. And there's a few seats located out in the outfield, but not too many, because the main thing in the outfield to really draw your attention to are the fountains. So there used to be no seats out in the outfield, and the fountains were the only thing there from 1973 all the way to the renovation in 2007. Kansas City is actually known as the City of Fountains because there's so many waterfalls around the city. And so these fountains in the outfield really pay homage to the waterfalls and fountains around the local area. And these fountains are normally called the Water Spectacular, as it measures a total of 322 feet wide, and it'll spray multiple different patterns and different lights throughout the night. And since those renovations opened up in 2009, the fountains are now a lot more accessible to fans. Now obviously you can't go swimming in them or anything, but you can get a lot more up close and personal to them than you used to be able to when it wasn't a full 360-degree concourse. The atmosphere in the stadium was okay. To be honest, I would have expected a little bit more on a Friday night against a divisional rival as the Twins were in town. It was Nurses Night, so there was a larger attendance kind of later on in the game. I really enjoyed this hot dog race though that they put on. It is really fun.
Where's the plane one? I want the plane! Please catch
it. But this guy in the mustard suit sucks.
Because I was like watching with my real eyes.
We did bounce around the stadium a little bit, and the Royals bats were pretty quiet for most of the night, but finally got a little bit of something going later on in the game. And the DJ was trying to pump everyone up. And the fans are starting to chant, which was starting to get pretty exciting. And the Royals hit a home run, but of course I was on the concourse and missed most of the cheering for it. But they were trying really hard to mount a rally in the bottom of the ninth to come back. And they even had these cheerleader people walking through the aisle holding up signs, encouraging the crowd to cheer louder. However, that just wasn't enough, as the Royals ended up falling by a final score of 6-4 to the Minnesota Twins. However, there was a pretty good fireworks display afterwards, and I really enjoyed how they coordinated the fountains to the fireworks. And that's it from here in Kansas City, Missouri and Kauffman Stadium. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you real soon for another stadium review. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.